I'm doing some tri-tip.
Oh yeah, we're live. Hey, no, hey, we were just doing the air fryer upstairs, so everybody can see this. We were doing shrimp bacon with jalapenos and
Nice.
cream cheese. So, no, I understand. Um, welcome. This is Artists of the Good podcast, hosted by me, Johnny Walker, Johnny Walker Art. Tonight we have Tank Bilt from Las Vegas, Nevada. Tank, thank you for doing this. We were messaging before this started, and I would have been able to meet you. I think it would probably been like maybe 2 years ago, an event that you did with Mr. Oz. It might have been. It might have been. Were you out there in California?
Yeah, so
It,
it could have been many because
yeah.
there for a little while, Corey and I were bumping around together for
Uh,
a good like year. So
okay. Yeah, it would have been one of those events he invited me out to, and like I wasn't able to get the time off. So,
nice.
thank you for sitting down with me tonight.
Well, it's
If
a
you
pleasure.
can, let if you want to give it a little introduction, let people know who you are, where you're from, and kind of like how you got started in doing what you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name's Tank. Tank Bilt is the company. More of my art side, and I'm out of Las Vegas, and I've actually recently started doing a lot of stuff in Northern California again, which is where I actually grew up for joined the Marine Corps and all that stuff. So um, I am more known now for my palm front carvings, which you can kind of see some of these. But I was never a woodwork guy at all. So it kind of, fell in my lap.
That's what I was. So I was doing like this is what I know you for, like
Yeah.
from those carvings. So I was doing research, looking back. You've been in fabricating for a long time. Like I
Yeah.
found an interview in like Fabricator magazine, from like 2015.
Yeah.
Talked about a little bit like your past, like how you actually started getting into that. It's like you grew up doing this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my dad, he's still around. He's up in Oregon. He is a fabricator, machinist, just very metal oriented, but he also did a lot of woodwork and stuff. When I was a kid, I remember he used to make miniature cannons that were total length with a carriage and everything. They were only maybe a foot long. And that's how we ate for a while was, he had knee surgery and he was out of, he was uh, he worked at a wheelabrator. So he did maintenance on, out in Shasta, I believe. And so, when he had knee surgery, he was down and, they didn't really take care of them. He wasn't union or anything like that. So,
Uh-huh.
we would just sit in the garage and he would make carriages and he wouldn't use screws or anything. It was all dowels. And,
Oh wow.
so watching him make the barrels on the lathe and stuff as a real young kid, it got me into it. And whenever in school, like first through third grade and stuff, we would have, there was like Renaissance, stuff going on. Like we
Uh-huh.
were learning about that in history. And I remember my dad had me and my friends in the garage using spoke shaves and stuff, making,
Okay.
gladiuses
Yeah.
and other, like miniature swords and stuff out of wood. And, everybody loved coming over, for that reason. So,
So it's like kind of like I grew up on a farm, and the kind of same thing. Friends loved coming over, but it was like we were still working.
yeah.
That was
So
like the idea how that. Yeah.
for a long time, I actually kind of resented my dad a little bit
Uh-huh.
because I felt like he never let me have a childhood.
Uh-huh.
There was so many kids that I grew up with and around that they were out playing and causing mischief and everything else. And it was like I had to work, and
Uh-huh.
whether it was like helping build a mini bike or whatever, it could have been fun stuff, but it was always like, it was always like be a man. I
Uh-huh.
was never allowed to kind of mess around. And looking back, I mean, it's the greatest thing that anybody's ever done for me,
Just
honestly.
kind of prepared you to to do what you're doing now. Correct.
Yeah,
Like it's helped you get to where you're at.
yeah.
Man.
No,
And how?
absolutely. My work ethic in that regard is well. I deal with my issues as far as being flighty and being an artist,
Uh-huh.
and just having a hard time sticking to things that I don't want to work on.
Uh-huh.
That's probably the biggest downfall I have. But if I'm into something, or if I can pin my mind to it, man, I can work around the clock, no problem.
So are you only doing carvings? Because I went to the depths of I found like airbrushing things that you were doing. No beard. It was like you were young. It, so you're like you paint metal fabrication, car, like you do everything, correct?
Yeah. So my background is mostly automotive. It's actually building custom cars and bikes and stuff. Like I said, the woodwork thing kind of fell into my lap. My website's frondart.com for just the palm frond. That's actually a separate business totally. I did a first little, bio on there, whatever, a blog, if you will. And basically, kind of went over how I came into doing palm fronds. But it's something I didn't really ever want to do. It wasn't something that I was ever like really all that passionate about until nobody else was doing it. Like there's one guy that really, I got it from. But for the most part, it was, Cormac out of 29 Palms. I try to send him as much love as I can because no one will ever do anything that's 100% original, in my opinion. You will never do anything that has no influence, that has no grounds in something you've seen. So it's important to embrace that and say, hey, look, this is where I got this idea, but make it your own. Don't copy, don't jack people's stuff. But it was one of those things to where when I started doing them and they started selling, and then I pulled away from it and people were still hitting me up and stuff, like it was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing now. So,
so that's the thing. I've never seen them before, like any other person carving what you're carving.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's like 3D art. It's not,
it really is.
It's not 2D. It's very in depth in what you're putting into it. What are some of the tools? I watched one of your videos. Oh my, that's a lot of sawdust blowing around.
Oh no, dude. Yeah. I just vacuumed, unfortunately, but it's just terrible. I usually don't even come into this room without a respirator. Because I do a lot of nasty stuff, whether it's paint, metal fabrication, woodwork, like it's all terrible for your lungs in different ways. So I try to be as smart as I can, but whatever. Oh, I did vacuum stuff, but for the most part, I use rotary tools with flex shafts. They're small, they're easy to manage and stuff. So, and it got to the point to where I was wasting enough time changing out the individual bits that it made more sense to just buy a whole new thing and just be able to go back and forth. But Dremel, a few years ago, I'd say probably 2015-ish, they had sent me some love. They sent me some products and stuff. That really, I was at a point then where I wasn't big on their products. It was like, that's what I was using because that was what was available.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other companies out there that produce them and stuff. And there was a big thing between like Fordham and Dremel. And Fordham, they're these machines here. They're a lot bigger. They're stouter. The handpiece may not look like it, but it's a lot more. It's not as functional as far as like being easy to use. So it's really not as user friendly for just constant production as far as like doing the fine detail. But they have their own areas that they outshine Dremel. So, but when they sent me that stuff, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm gonna keep showing this love. Another friend I have through the art community, Hank Robinson. So Hanro Engraving out of Arizona.
Okay.
This dude is incredible. He's the one that does like all the engraving on like the F-250s and stuff like that at SEMA for Dremel.
Oh wow!
And he's definitely throwing me a line here and there and fucking help me out.
Were you at the SEMA show with like the photo you sent me? You had like a carved. I think you carved up a guitar.
That was at SEMA, yeah. So that was in the Endasa booth. So that I have a lot of friends that know the Five Finger Death Punch guys out in Vegas very well and stuff. And I started playing with some guitars because I was kind of getting bored with palm fronds and stuff. But I did like using rotary tools and carving. So I was kind of expanding, and in Vegas we got tons of pawn shops. So I'd go pick up guitars that were all beat up and basically recarve them and do that. So that particular bass, if you look at it, It's actually the 5-finger death punch skull with a star behind it, and then there's some gunshots and stuff.
Uh-huh.
A buddy of mine has that body right now. He was going to paint it. We're going to kind of do it as a collaboration because he already works with 5-finger death punch, Jason Oberly. And I may go grab that one and finish it up just because he's been swamped. He has a lot of really, really cool stuff going on. So that one actually might get finished here real soon. But
man, that is pretty cool.
I think it was 15 or 16 SEMA.
When did you start? Was that around the time things started picking up? Like people started noticing, like, oh man, this is something different, and people started picking up on what you were doing.
Yeah. When I moved from Southern California, I was down in like Oceanside, like North County, San Diego area. I moved out to Las Vegas. I had a lot of life changes going on. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and just start anew. Moving from, at that point, I really was trying to move from automotive to art. I was like, I don't know what kind of art I'm going to do, but I'm going to just be an artist now. And I had done a few of the fronds before that, like maybe a hand, like 10, maybe. And I did one for a friend's wedding present and stuff. And when I got to Vegas, I really was I tried painting license plates and stuff, which was kind of fun and kind of cool, but very limiting. You're kind of stuck to what you can do. There was I did a palm frond, and a friend saw it and was like, hey, I'd really like to buy that. And so I sold it for $100, which was way more than I had made on any of the other ones. And it was big. Like it was a good size one. Like now it'd probably go for around 1,000. Wow. And I was stoked on it though. It was like $100. Like, dang, so I only had a motorcycle at that point. So it was gas for, a really good amount of time. So
I read about that. One of the interviews you did, I was reading about that, how you went from California. It's like all you had was your motorcycle
and a duffel bag,
and you went around and just hustled, and got like job here. And I know, how was that transition? Coming out of the Marine Corps, and it's like starting fresh.
So when I came out of the Marine Corps, I had gotten divorced while I was still in. When I came back from Iraq, I ended up getting divorced and stuff. And the military is very big on making sure that the spouses are taken care of and stuff, which I think is good. I mean, I saw a lot of times where the guys were like, oh, if she doesn't want to be with me, then screw her. But it put me in a bad position because I wasn't allowed to live in the barracks because I got housing allowance. I wasn't allowed to and I couldn't afford a house or an apartment or anything. So I ended up finding a small shop that the guy with a limo service was willing to sublease me because he only needed like a corner of it for his restock stuff for his limos. So I rented that. He already built a shower into the bathroom and stuff. And I lived in the office, and in order to pay for that, I had to make money there. So I was actually working on like cars and bikes on the side, like doing just whatever people could bring to me. And then on Friday, Saturday nights, I was bouncing at strip clubs down in San Diego. And then Sunday, all day, I would cut hair in a barbershop in Oceanside.
And Marine Corps.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And it was a terrible time, but it was the best time because it was constantly go. At that point, I was already an NCO. I had my own office. And so I would come in the morning and we would go do PT, and then we'd come back. And honestly, the way I set up my bookshelf, I had a cot that I could lay behind it to where you couldn't see through my door. And I'd leave it locked, and I'd take like a 2-hour nap. I'd get up, and I was the safety hazmat guy. So anybody who knows anything about that, especially the military, knows it's usually a bogus billet. Like you become the safety hazmat guy because it's just something that somebody has to do. Nobody really takes it seriously, unfortunately. And as long as people aren't being dumb, it really does kind of run itself. But I took it I took it a little more seriously and actually went to school and did the things I needed to do. And so after lunch, we'd get up, and I would take another nap during lunch. I'd just leave my door open and they'd wake me up. We'd go to formation. And then the back half of the day, I would knock out everything I needed to get done for that day. So I was still very productive. I was still getting service commendations and stuff for doing a better job. And he dropped off, but I'm going to keep going anyway. But it was one of those things that after work, I would go and I would work on cars and bikes. You dropped off, but I keep going. I'd go back to my shop and work on stuff there into the night, and then I would actually I would go back in first thing in the morning, and then on Friday I would drive straight down to San Diego, go work for the night, have breakfast with some of the girls, hang out, sleep a couple hours, whatever during Saturday, work again Saturday night, and then drive straight back up and go cut hair from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it's so you're supposed to be licensed to cut hair. However, being right around military bases and stuff, honestly, you have to get, especially the Marine Corps, you have to get a haircut every week. Like they're a little more lenient and stuff. And I cut hair so much when we were in the field and things like that it didn't matter. Like I was good. I got to the point to where I was able to do a fade in about 7 to 10 minutes, and so I was able to make a good amount of money, and that actually really kept me alive through the back half of my military career. Your mic's off. Your mic's off.
Oh, now can you hear me? Can you hear
Yep.
me? You can? Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This happens every time. Every time. Okay.
It's all right.
So
Cutting out again.
No. Okay.
All right.
Am I coming? I'm not coming.
I think your mic's not working too because it's real faint.
There. Can you hear me?
There you go. Yep.
I don't know what happened. Okay. When did you start airbrushing? When did airbrushing start coming in?
All right. So my mom had been married a few times, and one of my stepdads was a body man. And so as a young kid, I was around older cars and stuff a lot. And he used to have this like early 90s F-150. It was white, and he had a mural on the tailgate of it. There was a snow scene, and I saw it, and it blew me away. I was like, that's paint, it's crazy. And he was telling me, he's like, hey, if you start learning airbrush, if you can get to do this kind of quality, then I'll have you paint my stuff. So I first got a Harbor Freight airbrush, and it was rough, man.
Yes. Look at
it
this.
was.
I just did a job. I've had this Harbor Freight airbrush since 2012, and I did a job with it last week.
Woo!
And it's still, I ran one shot through it, so I should probably clean it really good. But since 2012,
you might have to burn
it. this thing has held up since 2012. I bought this at the Harbor Freight in San Angelo, Texas. I was in the DoD Fire Academy, and I picked this thing up. And I know it's time. I'm gonna upgrade. This is next week. I'm gonna be upgrading.
Yeah, I mean, and Iwata has been a company that actually shortly after that. So, a friend of mine had an airbrush. One of my brother's friends, technically, but he had an Iwata, the siphon feed, and so I played with that, and it was just crazy how much easier it was for me to do lines and stuff like that. And of course, at first, I did what everyone does when they get an airbrush. I tried to draw with it, and then try to go freehand, all that stuff. And slowly over time, there were just other applications that I could see for it. And growing up, I had a good amount of friends who were into graffiti and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it always made no sense to me. I'm like, so you're going to go steal paint and then go and paint things you're not allowed to paint, and hopefully not get in trouble. Like, I'm going to buy an airbrush, I'm going to get good, and then I'm going to have people pay me to paint some shit. And looking back, like I see the appeal and also the esteem of graffiti and stuff, especially now that it's actually going mainstream or gone mainstream. And it's incredible to watch what these guys have done, and the amount of passion that it takes for them to do what they were doing is insane. So it just I went a little different direction.
What advice would you give somebody who wants to get into airbrushing, where to start, what to buy, equipment and that kind of stuff?
The best advice I could probably give is, scour the internet for information, delve into it with anything, not just airbrushing. Like if you decide that you want to do something, like dive into it hard, even if it's just for a couple weeks in the shot or whatever. But look for decent equipment. The difference between using like an Iwata airbrush and even the lower end, like a Neo series Iwata over using like a Harbor Freight airbrush is astronomical. I mean, the amount of time and attention that they put into, tolerances and making sure that it actually works the way it's supposed to. There's a lot of times where you'll produce bad work or work that you don't understand how you didn't do better. And then when you use better equipment, it's night and day. The second is paint. There's a lot of paints you can run. I myself will go to Walmart and buy the little, whatever the apple tree paint or whatever for 50 cents for the bottle. I'll buy those to base stuff out just because it is thicker than a lot of airbrush paints and stuff.
So you'll spray that down first?
I don't spray that. Like you can absolutely add water to it and spray it, but I'll actually hand brush the majority of what I'm doing because what I'm doing, it's so porous that it'll just suck all that
right in. Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll take me hours of just layer to layer. I've even honestly used like flat spray paint and done it before, but the problem with that is you run the risk of it running. It's it's more expensive. It smells. Like there's a ton of reasons why I've just moved to doing acrylic paints as a base. But then as far as spraying goes, though, invest in an
You still there? There. Wait a minute. We're back.
So they'll atomize real well. But I had a silver warning. Some old person's lost around me, I guess. So
that's.
I'm sorry. But anyway, just it's a much better quality paint. And then you get into the water-based stuff, the waterborne stuff like Createx. I had tried it early on and I just wasn't impressed. It would spiderweb out. Like there were a lot of issues with it. But when I moved to Las Vegas and started getting opportunities to paint live at casinos and resorts and stuff, you cannot be spraying solvent-based paint. It stinks. It's not fun. It'll get on stuff. It doesn't come off. So I looked back into Createx again. And actually, I had a friend at the time who I don't really associate with the guy anymore, but he was very big with Createx and killer artist, and so he kind of got me trying it again. And I was blown away by the quality difference and the ability to really get nice, fine, crisp lines of it and stuff now. So I started working with that and then started doing a few events and things like that and got the opportunity to work with Createx a little bit. And actually Craig Kennedy, one of the owners, had come to town and he saw some of my carvings and was like, let's do some stuff. He's like, he's like, let me send you some product and see what you do with it and stuff. And that was around the time that they were getting ready to introduce their candy line. And so he sent me the candies and stuff. And I was blown away by the fact that this was a waterborne candy.
I just picked some up.
Yeah.
It might be tangerine and it's like their candy 02 or whatever. Yeah. I just picked it up and I'm like, I've got to try this out. And
it's solid. And I mean, the early stuff I tried was great. The stuff now is mind blowing. And now they've introduced some new clears and stuff. There's Scenics and I think they changed another name, but it's crazy. Like the coverage that they're achieving out of waterborne stuff, the diversity that they're getting. And I'll actually take I'll do all my hand brushing now, the majority of it with waterborne paints, and I use MAC brushes, and I've got some Tidwells and stuff. So, but I'll use glycerin, just a dab of it, because it doesn't harden, it doesn't dry, so that actually extends the life of the paint as you're pulling it. It gives it a little longer life, and then I'll use their the Red Label It's their acetone reducer. And what that does is the acetone will actually evaporate off and make it dry, a little easier to where you can pull other lines over it. But yeah, I mean, I'm able to get some really decent lines out of it and stuff.
You're using Createx with the acetone reducer.
Yeah.
I think maybe in 2012, because I was using I had stuff in like the dorm barracks area. I'd like paper. I'd buy like newspaper print, tape it up on the wall, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was doing I was like the daggers, the dots,
Yeah.
the circles, and I think it was just like I probably still have it behind me. I think I was just reducing with water.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
spraying
yeah. Early on, people were reducing with water, which is what I did. I mean, and honestly, because I was like, it's water-based paint. If I'm going to thin it out, I'm not going to spend money to do that.
I was counting drops. I was like, okay, I was trying to do math. I'm like, 1, 2. I had like a little dropper bottle for water, and I'm like trying to count and everything. Yeah, I had no clue what I was doing.
Yeah, well, and people would also use like Windex, and there were a couple other products, but essentially the Red Label Createx reducer, it's their acetone. I think it's the 2030, if I remember correctly. That stuff is crazy. Like it's decent. You can't use it with some products because it will actually react and make it coagulate and stuff. But for the most part, I mean, it's a killer product, and they've come so close to making it like spraying solvent-based paint. Really, there's not any huge benefit to spraying solvent for someone like me. When you're in automotive work,
the same effect.
Yeah, and then you have guys like Steve Gibson, who is the stuff he's doing with this paint. It's like, yeah, obviously, this is some quality stuff. So
do you ever use the auto? Like, it's called Auto Air?
Auto Air? Yeah. So it's a different line. So basically, Createx is actually broken down into a couple of different segments. So you have their illustration, which is like they use better binders, they use better pigment. Like it's a higher quality paint, but it is more expensive. They have the Wicked line, which is a little more cost effective. And for most people that are going to touch an airbrush, the Wicked line will do anything that they're capable of doing. And then they have the Auto Air colors, which those tend to be more, I believe those have the pearls and the metallics and a lot of the they have a gold chrome and a chrome now. A lot of those, they have what is it called? A sealer now. It's been out for a little while, but the sealer's badass. I mean, it's really solid stuff. It has really good adhesion. It has really good wear protection and stuff. So that is something I have a lot of big, beyond painting and stuff. I mean, I do machining. I do a lot of automotive work and stuff. So I have a lot of really big machinery that I'm getting ready to go through and actually redo, and I'm going to use that. Like
paint them all up.
Yeah, it's good, solid paint that will last. So, but yeah, so they're broken down into a couple different areas and stuff, and they're always looking for new products. They're always building, and it's just really badass to watch how they're not afraid to try something new, even if it doesn't work out 100%. You'll have those people that'll come in and they'll bitch and moan about how, I bought this product, it wasn't great. They take care of their people.
Yeah. It's like any product that comes out, there's always someone who's it's not gonna do something for them. And I like how when some of these new products come out, Coast puts out some really good things, really good informational, like instructional videos out there that I've been, that helps me out, like, oh, what am I going to buy now? Just watch, hey, let me watch their video. And I know exactly. Yeah.
So Dave and the Coast crew, Rhino and for a long time, Tom, that they're such a big part of the paint industry beyond just being a retailer. They work really closely with Iwata. They work very closely with Createx. They work, Dave is one of those people that when somebody's looking to do something new, the Lumalorf is a good example. Dave's the guy they call, because even if he's not going to do it himself, he'll be like, this is your guy, go over here, he'll kill it, and and he keeps a good a finger on the industry to where he knows, a lot of the people that are coming in and stuff, and he has access to them And so because of which, yeah, their Live at 5 is a really good one and stuff. And you have Craig Frazier, who's big in Createx and just the industry as a whole. He's been on there quite a few times. You have Rhino, Ryan Templeton. You have a lot of these guys that are amazing, and they all run through there.
Where did you did carving the palms, like that is what really promoted you and pushed you forward, because you were doing that, like no one else, like you said, no one else was doing that. Is that what kind of like put you out in front of all these businesses, all these companies?
Yeah, because it's one of those things where and like with Solon, for instance, that was one of my, I would honestly say, favorite connections. Not on a product level, like they don't give me everything I ever wanted or whatever, but it's like those guys are so solid. They're so big in the industry, the tattoo industry mainly, that it was humbling. I had painted a couple bikes early on that I used some of the early Fallen Angel artwork that Gus and Ryan Smith did, and and that was back before the internet was a huge everything like it is now. And so I did it, and I was hoping to get in touch with them in some way, and it just never happened. And I by chance met with Jeremy Hanna, who's the co-owner of Solon, and we started talking, and I had one with me because I was actually in California getting more palm fronds to take back with me. And he was like, man, these are amazing. Like, you should bring one out, let's connect, and so that was a relationship that honestly would probably never have developed without palm fronds, because they're not really big into metalwork. They're not really big into like airbrushing and stuff. And I get a lot of people who hit me up and be like, hey, how did you, somebody who doesn't even tattoo, get connected with Solon? And I'm like, well, it's because I don't tattoo. Like, when you are sending your tattoo work into, one of the biggest tattoo related companies in the world and hoping to get noticed, it's like, well, I'm not saying you're not good, but there's other people who are as good or better sending in
hundreds of people sending in work trying to get on t-shirt. Yeah.
And so it's like doing something that's completely out of the norm. And there's a lot of people who do stuff with palm fronds. I do follow a lot of the hashtag palm frond, hashtag, frond art or whatever. And, but it's a lot of people that will paint over them. They don't really carve them. Fish are a real big one. People will turn them into fish all the time, and I've gotten requests. But honestly, I don't know why it hasn't caught on better. They are a real pain in the ass to carve.
I think that's the thing. You're right there. I think you got it right there. It takes time. It's definitely a skill set, and it's not, you don't just like, oh, I'm just going to go buy this and carve it and make stuff that you're making right now. It's not going to happen. It takes time to learn how to, like, I was watching you do it and I was like, oh my gosh. I watched you draw on it and I was like, and then I watched you start carving, and then you got out the grinder and I was like, nope, done. I cannot do this. I was like, I can't. I was like, I'm the guy who like, I would cut off my fingers. There's a lot that goes into it.
I've got so many scars on my hands. Like, I actually have one of my favorite pictures. A friend of mine, Angela, Stunt Girl Photography in Vegas, she took of me. It was for I think it was Round Rod magazine, and I was just holding a palm frond, and it says Tank Bilt. And like, I love that picture because not for the name and stuff, but because the way she had altered the lighting. It was a black and white photo. You can see all the scars on my hands. I was like, that's time, man. That's work.
Everything you've put into it.
Yeah. Blood, literally.
What advice do you like? So someone that is new, wants to get recognized. I mean, we all know, like, there are no shortcuts. There's no magic. There's no special book you can buy. I know it's hard work, and you put a lot of time in. Someone coming in new, like, who wants to paint, airbrush, carve, what advice do you have for that person?
Take a lot of pictures. Don't share those pictures necessarily, but take a lot of pictures, file them away. I have a whole file on my phone of palm fronds. And a good example of that is I posted a little while back a side-by-side picture of a
I saw
gorilla
it.
I
The
did
first one.
before and what I did
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's because in your mind you build up things that you've done before
Uh-huh.
bigger than they really are, and so which is good and it's also bad because when you don't feel like you're making progress and you don't feel like all the work you're doing is really paying off and you're remembering back and you're like that first gorilla was just so badass, it was so much cooler than anything I've ever done. When you actually have
Yeah.
a picture of it that you can look at side by side with the work you're doing now, it's like, oh, now I see. Like, so yeah, first of all, would be take lots of pictures, don't post them, but take them for your own good. With fitness, with artwork, with anything you're doing, you're going to get better by doing it. There's a lot of information out there about like 10,000 hours and
Uh-huh.
repetition and things. Those are all great to listen to because they have there's a resonance to them that it's real.
Hmm.
And then another thing is don't compete with other people. Be inspired by other people and compete with yourself because I'm guilty of it. I'll jump on Instagram and go to the search tab and discover new things. And as I'm rolling through there and I'm seeing some of these people carving lions that are 25-foot
Uh-huh.
long, insanely intricate, and or people that are taken and they're carving things inside of other things, and like
Uh-huh.
it's it will destroy your confidence if you're not careful. Be inspired by that. Don't take that and be like, "Oh, I'll never be that good." Take it and be
I
like, you know what? That's what I want to get to,
I can
and
make
push yourself.
the best shanks. Like that I got those down. Like that's the only thing I can carve a shank. That is it. S'mores, anything, that's all I can do.
Yeah,
I don't go. I cannot get any crazier. I like what you said though. I have some like kind of what you just said about artists and being inspired. And
yeah,
I screenshotted this off of like Instagram. Someone had it,
yeah,
and it kind of resonates with kind of what you just said. It says if you're an artist and your friends are artists, they are not competition. They're your inspiration. Support them,
yeah,
and that goes off of what you just said. Like you're getting inspired by others. Don't let it keep you down.
yeah.
By supporting each other, like that's another reason why I wanted to do this is start just getting it out there. People like what everybody is doing, even more. And look, all I did was Google your name. There's a lot out there on you. Good, it's all good. There isn't bad stuff, but like
So
I said,
far,
I was like, there was a lot of stuff. Like
yeah,
it just kind of like, oh wow, like this what you're doing didn't happen overnight. Like the
no,
success took many trials and errors and years to get to for you. It wasn't
yeah,
like
oh, absolutely.
it was like you didn't pick up a Dremel and carve a palm and then it was like, oh, here you go. Like people, the evidence is out there. If you Google him, you'll see how long he has been at this.
Well, and
And
the reality of that too is even more profound because the reality is I've spent probably 10 or 20 fold the amount of time and energy I've spent on carving palm fronds
uh,
on paint. I spent probably 100 times on metal. And you will like I'm actually getting ready to start posting more of that stuff because it is something I'm working more on now. But like, don't build yourself into a box. There's a lot of people that they say, I want to be really good at X, and
uh,
X is the only thing that I'm going to be known for, or whatever.
mm-hmm,
I was actually really salty about palm fronds for a long time, because here's this thing that I honestly, even to this day, like I kind of, my good friend Nick here, he always gives me shit because I'm like, I think palm fronds are dumb. And he's like, what do you mean they're dumb? They're badass. They're dimensional and like you're doing things that nobody else is doing. I'm like, yeah, but like it's a piece of garbage that I'm taking and like carving something that could only be a couple things out of because of the shape to where I can take metal and make literally anything I want. I can take and paint and all this stuff. And it's like, so I was a little salty on the fact that like this is what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be the palm frond guy. And actually there were a couple of interviews and stuff I've done before where they were like, all right, we're gonna introduce you as Tank Bilt. You're the palm frond guy. I was like, do not fucking call me the palm frond guy.
when I
Like,
type this up, I just put artist, and I mean
yeah,
the palms. people know you for that, but it opens them once they look you up or look in your stuff, they notice you do other things. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, he's cutting up metal and forming metal. And I saw a thing where like you were building a bike, like you were building a motorcycle, and it
And
just kind of pulls people in.
yeah. And I mean, one thing that I'm really moving forward on right now, and part of the reason I did the wood room that I'm sitting in is I've been taking old like Victorian furniture and like not the real old like badass stuff, but like there's a lot of replica stuff out there.
Uh-huh.
And you can get it cheap on OfferUp or Facebook or whatever. And I'll take it, and I've been pulling all the fabric off and recarving all the wood, laminating new pieces into it and stuff. And those are some pieces that are going to get put out there real soon. Is like these badass,
custom
thrones that are all hand carved. And it's one thing I've tried to move towards is some form of like upcycling, because in the way I look at it is I can take wood and I can cut it down like, timber. I can cut it down, laminate it, and make something new. Or I can take something that already exists that would go into a landfill, or honestly, people dump their shit in the industrial area I'm in here. There's piles everywhere of stuff that people just don't want. And so I try to take that stuff and, re-inject it into the world. Yeah.
So where you're at? Is that you're in your shop right now?
Yeah. So it's a friend of mine owns the building. It's his space and stuff, but I was struggling, man. Like, to be honest, I made a few business decisions back in 2017 that really have, they've negatively impacted my life in general. I mean, I had gained a lot of weight. I had, pretty much literally went bankrupt. Like I'm on the verge of actually talking about the potential of having to file bankruptcy because of some decisions I made in good intentions, but I just wasn't able to follow through on. I had messed them up. Other people had messed them up. Whatever the situation was, they didn't happen. So, I was pretty much ready to give up. This is 2019, I would say September, October. When I went on a trip with Horny Mike Henry from Counting Cars. We went on a trip for a month and a half around the country, and it was a lot of fun. And honestly, that was the best thing that could have happened to me at that moment, because Vegas was not a good place for me at that moment. I was dealing with a lot of stuff, and it was just getting out of the area for a while, and being able to focus on somebody else, and also being able to show my stuff. Like Mike was super cool about like, bring your stuff too. I want you to show it off. He wasn't that guy that tried to be like, well, you're here for me. You have to wear my clothes, you have to do my stuff. He's a badass person in general.
Do you have a set of horns?
I have multiple sets of horns.
Yes.
I don't necessarily wear them.
Yes.
I mean, even like sewing. Like I have a lot of sewing clothing that has the real big picture. I'm plain. I like my little shirts. I like my plain hats. Like,
what shirt do you have on?
It's Indasa. It's the abrasives company I work with.
Shout out to Indasa. They gave us a shout out on their Instagram and been actually like liking some of my stuff. So I really appreciate them right now.
Indasa was one of these companies that I came into totally by accident. It was the picture of me working on that or holding up the guitar in SEMA. That was in their booth. And actually, I'd say a couple weeks or months before that, one of their guys, Johnny Rhodes 95 on Instagram, he had seen some of my stuff, liked it. We started talking a little bit. He was like, hey, come by the booth when you're in town and stuff, or when we're in town. So I went through and we started talking, and he was like, hey, if you want to do a demo, bring something in and just sand it or whatever. And I was like, you guys just let me do it? And they're like, yeah, why not? And they were majorly an automotive refinish company. As far as like their braces and stuff were really geared towards that, or towards like plain woodwork and like knife making and stuff. But they've really gone after the custom market, and they've really expanded their product line into tapes and polishes and other stuff as well. And
one thing I've been looking at is those tapes. They've been posting a lot of stuff on
they're solid
content on that. Yeah. Definitely.
And they're another company that like they put their products out to people they trust and allow them to try them and tell them and be brutally honest, like, hey, look, I don't like it for this reason. It doesn't do curves well, or it rips, or whatever the case is, and they'll make those adjustments and do it again. And they have multiple lines that are different price ranges. They're for different things, but they're always listening. They're always trying to do new things. They have their workstation, which for me, when we first started talking about the workstation, I was like, it's a cart with a vacuum on it. Like, let's be real, not really game changing. Like, sorry, I'm just not putting that much money into it. But when I ended up breaking down, we got one here to the shop. They have their electric sander and also air tools that run through it. And what you do is you put the vacuum on automatic, and when it gets power or it registers air going through it, it turns the vacuum on and off. So, which is actually kind of badass. Like, you're not sitting there running back and forth. Like, you turn the sander on, and the sanders, their e-sanders have multiple speed settings as well. So, which is really nice for different things. So, I was hooked. I started doing it, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, okay, this is kind of badass. Like, I wanted to be a naysayer, but no, it was really cool. And the diversity of their products at this point. They do flat discs, they do fiber discs, different DA pads, the 5-inch. So I've been having a ball using their stuff, because you don't realize how much abrasives and tapes you use on literally everything until you start putting together an order and like looking at everything you're getting ready to order. And the fact that you go to one place is awesome.
Yeah, how much goes into it? Can you explain to everybody about SEMA? I've only, of course, seen like videos and all the content from SEMA, but someone watching, you've been to SEMA, so people watching or listening to the podcast might not necessarily know what SEMA is or how it works or how you go.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
So SEMA is a lot of fun. The show itself is really, as an everyday person, if you're in the automotive industry, it's fun. Like, you get to walk around and, there's a lot of different cars. There's a lot of different innovations. Any company that's wanting to produce a new part or a new, whatever, in the automotive region, like, SEMA is great for them. It's not the same as it used to be for that regard, because now we have the internet. Like, if you want to launch a new product, you don't have to go to a company and go to and do a circuit of these different things. Like, you can just put it on your Instagram and pay for some exposure, and boom, it's out there. But it's really nice to be able to go see it in person. The amount of talent that's at SEMA every year is staggering. The people that you will be able to just walk up to and be like, but I'm Tank, of course. Thank you. Like, and most of them are so incredibly cool. They understand that, like, that's what they're there for, and really, a lot of them, that's what they've built their career for, is to be able to have that reach and have that, and SEMA's great for that. And just a lot of people that come to SEMA that aren't the companies themselves come for the after hours, because every night there's at least a couple different events. Christian Sosa with Sosa Metalworks, he's been doing one on, I believe it's Wednesday nights usually. It's called Hammers and Hops is what they ended up calling it. So, but he opens his shop and he has food and he has drinks, and some of the greatest names in the industry are there hanging out at his place. Jamie Jordan was there, Jesse James, Christian Sosa himself. Jessie Combs, before she passed away, she was there. Every time. So seeing these people go through there, Gene Winfield, was through there and stuff. And like, seeing these people and like in a much smaller, more intimate setting is awesome, because usually they're standing at a table at a booth. You have to stand in line, you walk up, shake their hand, they sign something for you, you take
quick and go.
Yeah. So being able to meet up with some of these people and actually sit down and talk to them is phenomenal. And if you're into art, automotive related or otherwise, or you're into cars, you have to make it to SEMA at least once. It's one of those things. Not having it this last year was disorienting, to say the least,
Yeah,
because a lot of people
was
know
it
what
all
it is.
online?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
it was,
they did some online thing.
yeah.
I didn't even bother. Like, I really tried to partake in as little of anything this year as possible. I work, and I've been trying to drop weight. I'm down about 35 pounds over this last year. And normally my weight loss consists of me working out super heavy and, doing it that way. This time around, it's just a total lifestyle change. Instead of a lot of energy drinks, I'm drinking a lot of iced coffee and, just cutting out a lot of the sugars and eating more consistently and eating better. And this whole year's been focused on that. But like with SEMA, when it comes back around next year, it's going to be insane because there will have been 2 years worth of innovations.
It's going to be huge.
Insane.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to be just scratching to get out anyway. So.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a huge party. What, are you going to come out to a Brushmasters?
Oh, absolutely. So actually this last Brushmasters, I was talking with Corey about helping him do some promo videos and helping him pump it up. And, yeah, this next one, I was actually bummed. I have a stack of Brushmaster stickers that Corey gave me. It was probably November of 2019 that he gave them to me. And I had been sticking them on everything, all over the country, anywhere I go. And, but yeah, I was really excited about going this year. Obviously, it had to get shut down or postponed, whatever. But yeah, I'm really excited. Brushmasters, it's another one of those. Actually, it's a really good segue because
are you there?
Sorry, my Wi-Fi cut out that time.
I froze. I was like, oh wait, are you there?
But yeah, Brushmasters is one of those where you take a step back and see some of the talent that's there. I mean, you have I don't even want to go into it. Just it's legitimately one of those events where you watch and you're like, I can't believe all those people were in one place at one time,
and want to help me and show me.
Yeah. And talk and hang out.
I tell people about this every show. I'll probably talk about it.
Yeah.
I want people to go. It's fun. It's hands-on. You can ask whatever you want, and people. I mean, after you paint, during the day you learn everything, and then at night it's just a crazy paint party, and you're learning someone else. There's like people in the industry sitting beside you, going through class with you. It's just something. It's mind blowing, and you're like, am I really taking a class right now with this guy? Like, oh my gosh, I've seen his work all over the internet, and he's sitting beside me right now. We're learning the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that I absolutely love about a lot of these guys too, is the fact that there's a lot of humility and a lot of humble characteristics that are going around the industries right now, where people are not afraid to be vulnerable and say, like, look, I don't know everything. Like for a long time, a lot of the artists I looked at, I was in awe of them partially because I was like, how do they know literally everything? Like they're just one of those people that they're like, oh, I know that. Like I can do that. It blew me away. But on the flip side of the coin, having these guys that are like, I learn every day. I try to learn every day. I try to do something new every day. That it is nice because it makes it look and feel like that's something I can achieve. I can achieve greatness because if somebody that I think is great is also trying to achieve greatness, then to some extent I've already achieved it.
Like everybody's willing to help out. What's your I know you said you're doing furniture. What's your next goal, your next thing that you're going to be putting out?
Actually I'm working on a series. It started before I went on the trip with Mike. But it's called Bilt in America, and there's already an Instagram for it. I already have the domain and all that stuff. It's BILT, not BUILT. But basically, one thing I've realized about myself is that I'm not nearly as passionate about my art as I am about helping other people with their art. And in projects as well. There's a lot of opportunities I've gotten where people are like, hey, if you want to come out and help me for a week or 2 weeks or whatever on this project, Magic Mike, he's a bike builder there in Vegas. Amazing guy. Like him as a person, as a creator, just very, very good.
I end up watching that one. I found that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Magic Mike is one of those where I met him by chance. The shop I was in, we were next door neighbors and stuff. We ended up getting real close. And I ended up having the opportunity to help him with some of his stuff. And the quality of work that I was able to achieve and the amount of time or how quickly I was able to do it was so much better than if I had just done it on my own, because my stuff isn't that important to me a lot of times, unfortunately. Like or I'll get sidetracked or whatever. But when I was there in his shop helping him, that's what I was doing. And that helped me kind of realize too that, like, instead of building complete cars or bikes or even projects and stuff, I would much rather spend my time doing some of my stuff, but then traveling and helping other people on the things that they're already doing. That I was like, what I think is going to make the most sense is to make that a series, post it on Instagram, stuff like that. But I do a lot of video and photography, like editing and,
it was professionally, like, the one I watched it's professionally done.
Yeah.
And I tried to find the one where you're getting like the tattoo.
Yeah.
I found, I think it was like just a small clip of it, but I was like, oh my gosh. So I was looking everywhere for that Built in America.
So I'm going to be honest, that's through a streaming service that is VR called VRLoo. And basically it's it's something similar like Netflix or something, but it's on, I believe the Oculus, and a few other like VR headsets. Man, that James Strickland was a blast to work with, like that tattooer. The guy is insanely talented. He's super nice, very approachable, cusses like no tomorrow, which was funny because they were like, you cannot cuss in this. So there were a couple takes where they're like, okay, that was fun, but you can't say fuck that much. And he's like, fuck, dude, I'm sorry. Like
a lot of editing, right?
But I want to be honest, that one, I look back and, at that point I was just under 300 pounds. And the way those are shot is there's a camera, a single like 6-lens camera, 360 cam, and it doesn't move the entire time. And he opted to do the inside of this arm in that one. Nice. And so I was laying down like this, looking at the camera, looking at him, and at 300 pounds, which I'm 250 right now. So that's 50 pounds heavier than I am now. Hating life. It hurt like hell, trying to keep up with the conversation, trying to keep him from cussing. And like, that was an experience. And when they started showing me some of the footage of it, I was like, I don't even want to see it. Like I will not approve this if I see any more. I just, but it's one of those where I can look back on it and be like, well, there's proof that I was 300 pounds.
So this is like, that's the next thing. That's the next thing for you.
So the VR thing is a part of what I'm doing. But actually, the biggest thing I've been working on, the hardest part for me, is self-producing. Because one thing that I want to show if I'm going to do this thing is, if you've ever seen the TV show Catfish, I really like the fact that they showed the production. I really like the fact that they showed people getting mic'd up. They showed people with the cameras and stuff. Like it was there. And even though it was staged to a point, it was more real, to where you see other TV shows and like they'll walk up to the door and knock on, and there's all of a sudden a camera inside. Hey. The guy's like, I wonder who this could be.
Yeah. It's like, how did they get that camera in there and he didn't know the camera was there? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's already mic'd up and everything else. Like, so I was like, you know what? I want to actually shoot and like show calling people and be like, hey, don't cuss, don't say anything crazy. You're on the you're on camera. I'm gonna come in, we're gonna mic you up, and we're gonna do this thing. And I'm not super great on camera and all that stuff, so it's not like I don't slip up. And so that I want that to be part of it.
It's just raw and it's real.
Yeah. Because the reality of it is, like, what I want to be able to do is make it a platform to where I want a website that has a map and you can pin things on there. It'll have to go through approval before it gets live. But basically, what I want it to become is something that people go on and say, there's somebody doing something amazingly creative in this area. This is the shop name. This is the person's name. Because as I travel around, I would love to be able to take some time, stop off in small towns and talk to small people, or not small people, but talk to people who are less known. Because that trip that Mike and I took was a big eye opener. We would end up stopping in and looking at these shops. Like, we would just pull off the road, and me and Horny Mike, and we were driving this truck with big old horns and his face down the trailer. Like, it was like a get into anywhere free card. And we would just pull off and talk to people, and seeing some of the talent that's out there that we're like, oh, what's your Instagram, whatever, we'll give you a shout out. And they're just like, I don't do all that. It's like, it's so incredible. And to be able to talk to some of those people, to show some of the stuff they've done, that's what I'm really excited for. And it's a matter of doing it. I don't want an invasive crew. I don't want it to be something where everywhere we go, we've got 10 cameras and people just feel awkward, whatever. Like, I want it to be something where, whether I'm wearing a body cam and then I have my A7 or whatever, I want that to be it, and me and maybe a couple other people will trade off the camera and all that stuff. And, as far as editing goes, that's the biggest hurdle, is because if you've done anything with video, you know that to cut together a 30-second clip, you're going to ingest hours of footage possibly, especially doing what we're doing with this. You have to shoot so much stuff because it's not staged, and there's a lot of times where you'll hit the, like, turn off the video, and then something happens. You're like, crap, I should have got that.
Yeah. That's right. There's no editing. I'm not editing. I'm not cutting out anything when we lose the mics, when we do it. You're right. There's a lot. I was going to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to keep it like this and go with it and just keep going. And I was going to put music I was like, you know what? People don't tune in because the first 10 seconds of your interview or your live is because it's got a great soundtrack. They want to hear what, like what you're talking about. And that's, talking to you, you haven't held back. Like the whole real thing, you've said legitimate things. Like, hey, you're out here, you're working, you've made it, but there are struggles. And you've made it through those struggles. Like, with someone like this type of career isn't always, you're not always in the limelight, and it's not always, it's not always, I don't know, like party, like a rock, it's not a rock star lifestyle all the time. It's not like that. And I think it was great that you said some things, like, to put it in perspective to people who are thinking about this or just interested and want to listen and, like, don't understand that.
You might cut out. But yeah, I mean, basically, as somebody who would go on social media and see other people and see how amazing their life is all the time and stuff, and then you meet them in person and you're just like, oh, like that's it. Like, I didn't want to be that guy. It's difficult though, because at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where, like, I'm not trying to be dramatic. I don't go on Facebook and air out my dirty laundry and talk about my ex and all this stuff. Like, I'm not trying to be a drama queen, but I would love to be able to show people that shit's a struggle. Like, it really is. And the reality is, I haven't gotten through my struggles. I've gotten through some, but, like, I'm dealing with struggles every day. And any artist or any person out there who says that their life is 100% beautiful and perfect all the time, like, that's not somebody you want to build as a role model, because, they're setting you up for failure, because there's no way you're ever going to achieve that. And, if that's what you're putting your bar at, that's what your minimum has to be, is I have to be happy in every aspect of my life. Like, you're gonna fail. Like, there's no way to make that happen. So, I definitely want to just, and not saying by any means that I'm somebody who, like, is to look up to at all, but I do get a lot of people that'll message me, asking me questions about different tools or techniques, or, how I sell. There's people who hit me up and they're like, hey man, I want to sell artwork. I want to do these shows that you're doing. I want to do this, do that. And I always look at it and say, crap, I want to be as real as I can with them without deterring them. Like, because the reality is, like, you're going to get into shows and stuff. It's really not that hard. But by putting yourself in shows, you're going to have critiques. You're going to have people judge you. You're going to have people talk to you and about you. I like to be liked. I don't go out of my way to make sure that everybody likes me. But when I hear a critique about myself, I take it personally, and it's very hard not to. And even if it's something that I know isn't real or whatever, it's something I had to teach myself that I don't have to defend everything I do. I don't have to, prove my side of the story. It's like, cool, I'm a scumbag, I'm a loser, whatever, like, fun, and just move on. There's a guy on Instagram. I think your mic's still out. There's a guy on Instagram who's really good for that. It's Cornfield Customs, I believe, is the name of it. He's a metal shaper, and like he takes Sundays and he answers questions and stuff. And but he's an advocate for telling people, like, if you want to make it, just block out anything that anybody says, because people are gonna talk shit. And that's the realest thing ever, man. People are always happy to run their mouths. They're always happy. Like, it's a very uncommon thing these days to see somebody who actually wants to see people make it regardless of the proximity to themselves.
And it's like, I'm coming through this time. Yes, I can hear myself.
I hear you.
That's having a thick skin. Like, you're right. People, you put yourself out there. We put our artwork out there. Someone's gonna say something.
Yep.
Someone's gonna comment and make fun of something and talk shit, and it's gonna happen. I think someone just commented. So we are live on YouTube.
Yeah.
And can you see the comments that are coming through? Or is it just on my side? So,
just on yours.
I don't want to pronounce his. I don't want to butcher his last name. His first name's Ryan. Is it Tonry?
Tonry.
Tonry.
Oh God, yeah, that's Ryan Tonry.
Hey, he wanted to let you know that you are his hero.
Oh yeah. So Ryan is the social media guy for Counts Customs.
Okay.
He's the one that runs their account. So if you have anything that you want to say negatively about Counts Customs, his personal is Tonry Photography. Hit that one up. And
Ryan, I apologize for butchering your last name, because I know he is watching right now.
So actually Tonry, it looks like Tony R if you're, dyslexic or just when you glance at it. So people think his name's Tony all the time. We worked with people where they're like, oh, if you can get Tony R to shoot this with you, I'm like, Tonry, yeah, I got you.
Oh man. Yeah, he'll probably send me a message. I apologize. I saw he popped up. It's like all the stuff popped up on the side. So he is viewing right now.
Yeah. He's a super cool cat. Awesome photographer. The only colorblind photographer I've ever met. I'm sure they're out there, but like, I was always like, why are your colors so funky? And he's like, well, I'm colorblind. And I felt like I should feel like a dick, but I didn't. It was kind of fun.
He just said that you're a dick. He just said it.
Dude,
he just put that out there. I was looking at his stuff today because I think he saw one of the things. I think that you I don't even know what to call that. Like, you re-Instagrammed. I
reposted,
and it popped up there. And I was seeing, he had pictures of cars and stuff, like hot rods and stuff on there. I was checking him out today.
He's an awesome photographer, and he's one of the people that he came to me early on when he started shooting and asked me some questions and stuff. And like, it was one of those situations where I was like, I'm good at editing and stuff, but like, I didn't really view myself as like a amazing photographer, but I have a lot of information. We would work together on quite a few things, and watching that guy and his ability to invest in his craft was inspiring, because a lot of people, when they first come in, or not even when they first come in, but like as they're doing anything, they're looking for the deal. They're looking for like, well, what machinery can I get? And this dude went out and bought, the Canon, I think it was the 5D Mark IV. And and he spends money on lenses. Like he has more in like 2 lenses money wise than I've had in
lenses
any lenses ever.
They're not cheap.
And and he'll pay to go do these classes and to do these other things, and he supports people, and like that. It was a good representation of what you should do as a creative person. Come into it and like invest. I see people that spend money on the dumbest shit, and then they're over here trying to shoot with like a, I'm not even gonna throw out camera names because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but like they're shooting with a camera they got for like $200.
You can say they're using this bad
boy.
Yeah.
And the reality is there are a lot of people out there that can get insane results with nothing. I've seen cell phone photographers that kill it. It's not about quality or anything like that necessarily, but like if you want to succeed, invest in yourself. There's so many people that are willing to go out and club and they bought a car that they really, they can afford the payment and the insurance, but like it's on the cusp so that they have that image of being successful. But, I'd say take that money and invest it into whatever you're trying to do, invest in your craft and get better that way.
And there are a lot of classes out there. Gosh, there's a lot of guys. If people are into custom paint, there's a company, there's a group doing custom paint classes out of Stockton, out of New York, brush masters. Corey's going around and doing small brush masters, like pinstriping classes. He's got one coming up in Iowa. You're right. You can look it all up on the internet. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's the Rendezvous, the Getaway. There you have the Art Circus. You got Drew Blair, who's been teaching out, I believe, on the East Coast for forever. There's a lot of really, really good, solid people, and there's a lot more people that are doing one-on-one classes or like small classes themselves, and not just in the paint community, in the metalworking community, all over it. It's just so there's a Joe Mielke, Sodak Big Joe, or Sodak Joe or Big Joe, like the dude's incredible. Like he's up in Sturgis now. He actually stays at the Buffalo Chip. Like he's got the building there full time. And he does a lot of classes and stuff. And what I like about Joe is the fact that he will, he does classes on things that other people don't think about. Like a lot of people are like, oh, we're going to do a class on shaping, fenders, or we're going to build a gas and stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for people who have kind of gotten through that part of it, and not everybody can take concepts that they learn in one area and can just spread them across evenly. So people like Joe, who he's like, I'm going to take this mini bike and, we're going to bring in 5 people and we're going to do something to it. We don't know what we're going to do yet. We're going to come together collectively, talk about what we'd like to learn, what we'd like to develop. And he's got an awesome shop there and stuff. He's like, we're going to shape some shit, we're going to make something happen. And, he makes his own mallets. He makes his own shop bags and stuff for shaping. And like, the guy's just a class act personally. And as a worker, he's brilliant, and I love seeing that stuff. Like I would really like to get up to his place and shoot some stuff and hang out and, learn whatever I can from the guy.
Is that going to be something, later on in your career where you'll start teaching, like you'll start offering, like one-on-ones or like small group classes and where you're at? Or
already. I mean, there are a lot of people that they'll reach out to me about, with questions about different tools and stuff, mostly with Dremels or carving and stuff. And I try to put it out there. Like, I'm not competitive. I'm not trying to hold it close to my chest. Like, if you want information and I have it, I will absolutely spend the time.
Just show pictures of chisels and sandpaper and just say that's what you use.
Yeah.
That's it. I got this old pocket knife and I whittle away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do it all with this pinky
Yeah.
and this array of tools. Like, but yeah, I pretty much it's something I'm willing to do. The problem with a lot of creators is the humility and
Hmm.
kind of thinking like I don't almost wondering if the information they have is worth charging for or worth putting out there. Like the it's a strange thing to accept that you're good enough in what you're doing to show other people from a
How
teacher
you're doing
standpoint.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's one thing to just be like, yeah, if you want to learn or you want to play around, come play around with me. It's another to be like, look, we're doing a class. This is the setup and whatever. And that's one thing I did learn in the military is that basis of how to do like when I went through corporal's course and stuff. You learn how to give a class, how to go through a period of
Yeah.
instruction, how to begin it, how to go to the middle, and how to recap. And that's something I have used and will use in that regard. But it's still on a confident, not even confidence, because like I've got all the confidence in the world for no apparent reason. But it's more about, I guess, like you said, just being humble, like feeling like, I don't know if what I've got is worth somebody else doing, but yeah, I mean, I absolutely I'd love showing other people anything I can show them, and it's just strange because I don't work enough with painting and stuff to feel comfortable getting into like the getaway or the rendezvous or even the brushmasters as an instructor. And carving fronds isn't really a wide enough thing, obviously, to do. But I have played with. I do a lot of casting and stuff. So one thing I was looking at is making very plain either skulls or faces that are just cast very rough, and then carving those in, with Dremels and stuff. And like that's something I think could be fun, and it's a little more applicable to other things. Because, like you said, the fronds. The problem is that they're very unique. Like I have this one I'm working on right now for somebody, and without any paint, it's a little harder to see some of the detail. But, when you look at these things, they're incredibly fibrous. They're you work with a really hard exterior, then you go through a very pulpy, fibrous interior, and then once you breach through the back, and then through the center. I mean, it's not really that easy to see, but this thing's about 4 inches thick in the middle, and then it ends up being closer to a half inch out here, and it went even thinner the farther it went out. So being able to work all your stuff in there and using little tricks, the paint really does help it. Like when I paint them, I use a lot of really dark tones to kind of set my foreground and background apart. Contrasting tones, I'll do a real bright right next to a real dark to give it that little more pop. So, but that's all very, straight up with this. Like it's not something that you're going to take that information and go
put it into something else. It's
a piece of flat wood. Like, so yeah, it's something we're doing. Like Indasa actually has a really neat facility there in New Jersey and Fairfield, New Jersey, that they built out. That was the one that Corey, me, Christian Bananas or Diana, and then Chucky, we were out there doing like painting and stuff for them.
The big door.
Yes.
The rhino and all.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. So Christian did the door, the rhino on one side, and Corey did the Indasa script on the other, or through the middle. And then I just kind of helped out where I could just to speed up the process, and I shot a lot of it. And then Chuck, I don't remember his Instagram handle. I feel bad, but he does a lot of Indasa's like rhino artwork and stuff. He did his own mural in the next room over in the hallway, and just killed it. Like watching that guy work too was something that, he's been painting cars and a lot of like race cars and stuff for years, and like watching this guy work and the way he uses masking, and he doesn't. Like Christian was sitting there with a picture in one hand and like spraying it out. And then, and Corey's just sitting there like whipping it in and stepping back. And to see Chuck sitting there, and he had his little drawing, but like he'd mask the whole thing out and then spray in a couple things, and you're like, I don't think that's gonna work out. And he pulls it off, and you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Where'd that come
dude,
from?
it was insane to watch, And so, but they have that facility there in Fairfield that they're using for classes and things like that. And that's one I would love to put together a class with them to come out, and just do something at their facility there. It wouldn't be bronze, I'm sure. It would like I said, maybe some resin castings that I've done. But it's anybody who keeps information for themselves is a fool, because if you look at the internet, anything you would ever want to know is going to be out there somewhere. And pretending like you're the one who has it is foolish, and really it's not helpful to you or anyone else. Like,
I've seen people have gone farther in their careers when they have come together with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have built bigger things and done bigger things, and more opportunities happened instead of just staying by yourself and not doing or going anywhere or not talking to anybody or sharing anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And anything you do in life, somebody's going to be better. Somebody's going to be faster. Even if they don't exist yet, I have no doubt that somebody's going to do Franz at some point, and they're going to kill it. They're going to destroy me. And you know what? I welcome the day. And I've even gone out of my way to try to help people to kind of get them excited about it, to do it, because the other side of not having anybody else do it is the fact that there's no reason for me to push harder other than wanting to. Like, when you paint a picture and somebody else paints a picture and you look at their picture, you're like, oh crap, like I could do that technique over here. I could build, I can get better. For me, doing Franz and being the only one doing Franz that I know of right now, it's like I do something and there's no reason other than personal satisfaction to go that little extra bit, to do that little extra detail or whatever. Like, it's going to sell just fine if I just knock it out and get it out there. And that's kind of a shitty way to think about it. But at the same time, I mean, I really believe that competition drives industry, every industry. Nothing makes you better than seeing somebody else better or faster and thinking to yourself like, crap, okay, I got to step up.
I want to improve. I want to learn.
Yeah.
I want to do something different and do something better. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what if people, I know you have the website. If people want to contact you for work, where do they go? How do they contact you? You're probably you got all the social medias locked down. And you said
I don't do Twitter. I mean, I felt like Twitter was kind of one of those that, like, I don't like politics. I don't like talking shit. I don't like, putting my opinions out there in the world. And I felt like that's all Twitter was really for. So I don't do that. But Instagram, personally, it's Tank Bilt. If you're looking for Franz, it's Frond Art. Frondart.com. You can go through there. I have a couple of people that actually maintain that website and stuff, and so they'll be the one talking to you about it. But yeah, Instagram, Facebook, it's all Tank Bilt. There's no U in Bilt, because it wouldn't fit on my fingers.
Yeah, if you can shoot that information over to me in email so I can put it in at the bottom of this. Like, I load it up when I will actually, I think, re-edit it, or not edit it, but put the info in. I can put your information down. If someone sees this, when they watch it, they can, if they want to reach out to you, they can.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I mean, I'd also like to put it out there. I mean, some of the artists that I personally love looking at and love watching their stuff is Corey Morose, which is Mr. Oz Designs. You've got Corey St. Clair, who he's an amazing painter. There's Ryan Townsend. There's Rhino. Ryan Templeton is his real name. But and then across the metal industry, Social Metalworks, you got Magic Mike, Mike Henry, or Horny Mike. He's always doing some really wild stuff. Like, he kind of catches a rap on the show as being kind of this doofus, whatever, but literally one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life. Extremely talented to boot. And then, Ryan Evans is another one. He's a painter. That guy's just, he's driven. He is on the show and stuff. And do a list of people that I would like to see you do interviews with, really, because
Yes.
there's a lot, man. I'll send them over and I'll start
Yes.
talking to
Well,
them too.
stay on here real quick because I'll when I shut this down, I think I can still talk to you real quick. Yes.
Anytime.
Yes. Cool. Well, thank you. Thanks for doing this.
It's
And
my pleasure.
yeah, like I said, I'm glad I finally got to meet you. I know next time, hopefully, it's going to be in person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we'll have a big group of people, so it'll be fun. Thank you. Like I said, I appreciate you doing this for me. So I will stay on real here real quick. I'm gonna end this, and I'll get more information off of you.
Sweet.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir.